Hi, Leah.
Hi, Kamna.
I feel like these weeks are like filled with so much stuff. It feels like
I
it's been forever,
I know. And the reality is, I see you through Zoom at least a couple times a week, but recording, I feel like it's been forever.
forever.
I know.
So I love today's topic. When you suggested it, I was like, it's so interesting.
I actually went a different way than what I was thinking when I talked about it, because we're talking about what are you waiting for?
Hmm. And everybody has a different answer to this question. And that part was really interesting to me.
And I wish I had more time to list more things I'm waiting for because I feel like my list could have been pages and pages long.
Really?
Yeah. Yep.
Oh,
So,
I'm excited to hear. But
yeah.
first, how did your call to action go?
Okay, so I that was the other thing. I couldn't even remember what it was for a while. But then I remembered that it was to avoid excuses and to just say, yeah, this is what's happening and not use it as a crutch per se as like, okay, well, I can't do that because of this. Like
Hmm.
me more so just state the fact of it than
Okay.
anything else. So I give you an example is I'm working on this trifecta thing in my life that is involving improving my relationship with exercise because that's like my underlying real call to action is to really
Okay.
work on that. Not weekly, but really that's my goal. And the one day I had 2 out of the 3 of my exercise goals done and I was going to do my third and we had a chicken emergency with my daughter and
Oh
I mean
no.
it was an emergency and I couldn't get it done. And instead of using that as my excuse, I said, listen, you can't beat yourself up because you didn't get your trifecta done today because something happened. And
Right.
before I would have been like, I know this sounds like the exact same thing. I realize this as I say it out loud, but to me, it was different. Well, you didn't do it because of the chicken. And that's not what happened. What happened was I had an emergency that happened and I didn't get it done. But again, I know this sounds like it's the same thing, but it's
It
all in the
doesn't
way I'm,
to me.
oh, okay, good. It's all in the way I'm wording it to myself.
Mhm.
And it wasn't an excuse. It was really what happened. And it was like, I don't know. I don't know how else to explain it except in
It
my
might
head.
it
Yeah,
might
go
be
ahead.
the same words, but I think one has a more compassionate tone
Maybe,
and one
yeah.
one is like a shame tone. Like,
Okay.
you loser, why can't you do
Yeah,
it? It doesn't matter what's
right.
happening in your life. And the other one is like, look, this is an out of an ordinary situation. Let's just move
Hmm.
on. We'll do it tomorrow.
Yeah. So, anyway, that was just one example of the excuses I'm trying really hard to avoid. And I think it's working.
You
I
were going
do.
to do some investigating into what excuses you make. Did you do
Oh,
that?
um, I think a lot of it I make excuses of the weather.
Hmm.
I make a lot of excuses of um I don't have the food to eat in the house.
Oh,
So I have to eat like crap because I don't have food in the house.
yeah.
So things like that maybe.
Okay.
I
All
don't
right.
know. But I guess I really didn't do a good big deep dive into that. So I'll have to think about that some more.
Okay. That's
So
fair. You did the first step, which was just to
yeah.
give
Or
yourself more
you know what?
compassion.
Let's spin it. Maybe I didn't do a deep dive because I was so busy avoiding excuses that I didn't have any to write down.
Oh, lovely.
That's a better way to word it. Let's wrap
Yeah.
that all up that way. I didn't have any this week.
I like it though.
So all right, tell us about you.
Mine was really interesting. So mine was to not track or calories or food or even to write it down, just to eat when I was hungry and to eat good quality food. And the first we've not recorded, I feel like, for a while, but it seemed like the first 5, 6, 7 days, I was doing great with this and I was really listening to my body and it was eating actual food and not snacks. And I
Okay.
didn't shame myself for my portions or, oh geez, you put a whole avocado in your salad. I didn't do any of that. I was just like, does this taste good to me? Yes. So I'm gonna slow down and enjoy it. That first week, I lost 2 pounds. And that was shocking in itself to me because I'm a person who gets really stuck with my weight no matter what I do. It feels like no matter what I do. So for me to have like seen a dip in the scale, I realized that there's something to this intuitive eating.
Do you think it's there's no stress, so then your science behind that is your cortisol's down? Do you think it's you're really not hungry? Like, what do you think it is?
I think it was just really listening to my body because sometimes I feel hungry and instead of actually eating food, I end up eating snacks. And because the
Mm,
snacks are not satisfying, then end up eating more snacks. So if I just listen and say, okay, you're hungry, let's go eat some actual food.
actual food. I think so many people relate to that.
Yeah.
Like, you're hungry and you just eat a whole bunch of snacks.
Like if you're driving home from work, that's the key time, I think, for a lot of people between that 3 to 6 o'clock time
Mhm.
where you're hungry. And instead of just sitting down and eating dinner, you're like, well, it's not time for dinner. Well,
Yeah.
I need to make dinner or whatever those excuses are. So
Mhm.
then you end up eating garbage because your body's like, please feed me. Please feed
Yep.
me."
Yes.
There was also something interesting that happened that first 5 days is we went out for ice cream. And I was like, okay, this is going to be an interesting experiment for me because ice cream, you're like, it's milk and sugar and full fat and everything. And at first I was going to order a kiddie scoop and I was like, no, that's not really what I want. I want like a small scoop. There's a
Yeah.
difference between a kiddie and
Oh,
a
yeah.
small. So then I had a lot of negotiation happening in my head. So I really want some nuts in it and I really want some sauce on it. And so I made myself like a mini sundae without the other stuff. I don't like whipped cream and cherries and whatever. So I ate it and then about halfway through, we were sitting in the car for a few minutes and then my husband's like, I'm going to take this home and eat the rest tomorrow. And then for a second I was like, should I save mine and eat mine tomorrow? But I'm like, I pause and I'm like, am I satisfied? Can I finish this whole thing? I had a little conversation in my head. And then I finished it very slowly and I felt fine. I didn't feel
Good for
bloated.
you.
I didn't, but this conversation that's happening in my brain, it was really powerful in a way. And I think the point for me of this whole long story is that I wasn't depriving myself. I didn't say
Mhm.
you cannot have ice cream, you cannot have the thing you really want. So then I was completely satisfied,
You know what
completely.
else you didn't say is, gosh, my husband's putting it away. I should too. You
Mhm.
didn't should on yourself. You just
No,
was like, do I want to eat this whole thing or not?
yeah.
Period. Like, that's so I was gonna ask if the converse because this that was like the second example you said of these conversations going on. Is it annoying or do you find value in it that it oversteps the annoying part?
Do you mean the things that I'm thinking about?
That or like maybe some people are listening going, God, I feel like if I had to do this all the time, it would just take up so much time and be annoying.
I thought it would be difficult in the beginning not to track my food because I'm a
Yeah.
food tracker.
Yeah.
I need to know what I'm eating. But it was so after the first couple of days, it was so freeing. I was like,
Okay.
I, I don't know why. So if we're eating for nutrition, because that's what food is supposed to be, right? And also
Right.
pleasure, we've defined that in past episodes, pleasure and fuel.
Hmm.
Why am I treating it like a punishment or a reward? So for
Okay.
me, when that light switch flipped, I was like, okay, I'm hungry. I'm gonna eat. There was a hiccup a couple of times, and that I'm sorry I'm spending too much time on this, but I had so many
No, go ahead.
revelations.
Yeah.
But there was a couple of hiccups when we went away for a few days, and the first day I ended up eating a bunch of bread because I'm like I'm on vacation
Hmm.
and I felt gross. I felt so uneasy. I had so much heartburn
So
and
you weren't hungry when you ate the bread. You ate
no, no,
because
no,
you were on vacation.
it was part of our meal. Like
Oh,
everybody had
okay.
cooked and we had food there.
Okay.
And it tasted so good, so I just kept eating it, but I wasn't paying attention. I was just eating. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Hmm.
And then I was like, I don't feel good. This tomorrow has to be different. So I slowed down. I was more mindful of what I was eating, and then I felt better. I just felt better. So
Good for you.
I mean, I'm kind of glad I had that moment to realize that, yeah, it's not going to be perfect,
Yeah.
but I'm trying.
I think that's all we can all do is try. And I think
Mhm.
what I heard in your everything you were saying is that really for you, you're at the point now where stopping and having this conversation with yourself is a form of tracking. A
Yes.
different form.
Oh my God,
And while
that's so
some people
brilliant.
are like dedicated trackers and they're like, I always have to track, that's you're doing it different. You're just tracking it and going, how does my body feel right now? And do I really want this? Do I not want it? For you, that's probably easier than some of us just putting in ice cream sundae with nuts. Boom, move on.
Mhm.
But it's just a different form of tracking.
You're right. I didn't even give it any thought like that, but that makes so much sense to me.
Because really, when you do intuitive eat, you're paying attention. And when
Right.
you track, you're paying attention. So you're paying attention either way. It's just one is a written or technology based, and one is all deeper level. Like, does this make sense?
It makes sense to
Okay.
me is that
Yeah.
I'm still kind of keeping in mind, but I'm tracking different things, which is how do I feel and what do I
Right.
want and what fuel do I need
Right. You're
instead
tracking
of
just in a different
yes,
way.
yes. Oh, that's
Yeah.
so good. I like it. I'm going to
So we
continue it, by the way.
okay, good. I'm excited. I want to see how much more
Hmm.
weight you lose, I guess, right?
I would love that.
I know. All right.
As a little side effect, that would be great.
Yeah, right? So you're waiting to lose weight. We all are trying to do that,
Yes.
right?
I am waiting for that.
Mhm. Alright, so what I wanna start with that. What are you waiting for?
Um, I'm waiting for my house to be clean. I'm
Mhm.
waiting for things to get organized in my brain and in my life. I'm waiting for time. I mean, just waiting for a lot of things. Waiting not to worry.
Oh, waiting not to do something too.
Yeah, waiting to
Okay.
be financially sound, waiting for my
Yep.
business to take off, waiting for
Mhm.
inspiration. I mean, the list is so long. How about you?
Yes. So I made a whole list of mine as well. First one is school to start. I'm just waiting for school to start. Like, can't wait for that to happen. Um,
What is exciting about school to start?
Nothing. It's just relief. Nothing is exciting. I envy families that their kids can't wait and they're excited. I just envy those people that have their kids can't wait. My whole family dreads it. My husband is a teacher, he dreads it. Both kids dread it. I am the only one that is excited about going back to school, but waiting for the relief that it's already
Mm.
started and we're involved, okay? I'm waiting for Mondays, waiting for payday, waiting for after the holiday, waiting for um, when I feel better, or waiting for after my headache goes away, or waiting for after I heal if I have ever had an injury. Um, Waiting for after summer, after Labor Day, after my birthday, after New Year's, after I get motivation, after I get inspiration, after I get an apology,
Oh,
or after I'm perfect at something. I'm waiting for it to be perfect and then I can move on. Do those
waiting
make
for the
sense?
right time.
Yep, just waiting, waiting. There's always something that I'm like, I'm waiting for this, or I'm waiting for that, or I'm waiting for the weather to get better.
You had said something to me when you brought this topic up, and I was like, oh, that's an interesting way to look at it. You're like, what are you waiting for coffee? How long would you wait for coffee? Or, if you're ordering food, how long do you wait in a line? Or if like there's a
Mhm.
really famous restaurant and you're like, it's gonna be an hour wait. Do you wait?
Yep. Wait, 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 wait. We're always waiting for something, I
So
think.
we were driving home yesterday and I'm like, I really need a coffee. Can you pull over into the Starbucks? And the line was wrapped around the building. I'm like, I'm not waiting for this. I don't need the coffee. But so then they are like, why don't you just go inside and order it? So inside there was like three people. I'm like, I can wait for this. It's only three people.
Ooh, interesting way we look at things, right?
Hmm.
It's so true though. There's like we have these unspoken rules in our head, like what we will wait for and what we won't wait for.
Yeah.
But I
So
feel like when it comes to our own health and wellness, we will wait and wait and wait and never actually start something.
why do you think that is? Just
Um,
before we dig into anything, what do you think? What's your theory?
um, because we're scared.
Oh,
And I
what do you,
think we're scared that we'll have to change. but we don't
Mhm.
want to change, but we know in order for something to happen, we have to change, or there's fear that we're going to fail.
Right.
So I
Right. That's
think
a big
that
one.
those two things combined together really is an awful place to be,
Mhm.
and we're afraid of both of them, let alone one of them. Do you know
Right.
what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that's why we're constantly waiting.
That's a really good point. Fear, lack of perfection,
Mhm.
just yeah, that
And I
makes
and I
sense.
thought about this podcast as a perfect example because when you and I first met about it in a Panera, we were
Mhm.
talking about it, and we could have been just waiting forever to start
Mhm.
it. Realistically, we could have. And then I think one of us finally just said, "Let's just record one episode and see what happens." We could have met because I know the two of us, we could have literally had notebooks full of ideas and logistics over and over and over. But we just said, let's just stop waiting to start and just record one.
Right.
Right?
Right. And I even remember the first time we talked about it and we were somewhere and so you said somebody suggested that you and I make a podcast. And I was like so excited by that. I was like, "Well, I don't know anything about podcasts, but I'm going to figure this out and let's do it.
Let's just do it.
Let's
Right?
just do it." There was no waiting. And
No.
the universe is like, "Well, here's the answer for this and here has how
Mhm.
you do this."
And
So,
we could have waited. We really could have, but
yeah.
we at that time, I don't know exactly what it was that we just decided to go for it. And I think that's what I need to hold on to, is that I've done it once.
Well, the interesting thing about that is when I had doubt, you're like, "No, we got this." And when you had
Oh,
doubt, I was like, "No, let's do this. Let's figure this out." And maybe that's the key when you're really struggling is to have good support system,
mm.
because then you can push each other when if you have doubt about anything, come on, let's go. Let's take a
Yeah.
walk or
Yeah, because waiting is really, really something that's just gonna keep you stuck in a place you don't wanna be.
right. And then you perpetuate the cycle of being disappointed in yourself.
Mhm. Yeah,
You're like, I didn't do it today. I'm a failure. I can't, I'm just not good at it. I'm not going to be successful.
yeah. I found this quote by this I don't know who the guy is, Napoleon Hill. Do you know who that name is?
No.
I should have probably researched his name before I share this quote, but his quote is, "Don't wait. The time will never be just right. Start where you stand and work whatever tools you may have at your command. Better tools will follow along the way."
Yes.
And I love that because I think another thing we're always waiting for is the right tools,
Right.
the right equipment, the right thing, the right whatever. And let's start with where we are now and then move more. The tools are going to come. We just have to
Right.
start with what we have right at this moment.
Yeah. It's that initial inertia that you just want to
Mhm.
just sit and not do anything because
Mhm.
that's the easier choice or the most um, predictable choice, you
Yep.
know?
I'll give you another example is like my husband and I were constantly talking about organizing our basement. And we kept saying, once we get extra money, we'll go buy shelves and we'll go buy bins and we'll go buy all the stuff to organize, right? That's one of those things that we're constantly waiting to start organizing until we have the right stuff. And I just one day was like, no, we can't keep waiting for this. Let's just start with what we have and where we have the things. And I think this waiting for thing applies for every single thing. If you want to start Zumba, but you don't have the money to do a class, start with what you do know about Zumba in your living room. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? Like go to
Yeah.
YouTube and put something on. If you want to start eating healthy, but you can't afford to go to the grocery store today, how about start with what you do have in your house that's healthy today? Does that make
Absolutely.
sense?
Yes. Yes. It's
So,
not going to be perfect. We just have to do
right,
what we can.
right.
By the way, when you were talking, you gave me an idea for my call to action. So,
Oh,
yeah,
you
it happens
switched it
every
up?
time. I
I you
switched it.
s Okay. All right, so I have a list of things that we need to realize, and you have a list too. What do you have?
I have a list of when you were trying to get out of the inertia, things you can do. Um, it's from wikihow.com and it said if you like have want to have a goal, start small. Commit to what you can do right now. And then define those goals so they're very clear. Because if you can't say what your goal is, like, I just want to be in better shape, that's not a clear goal. What does that mean? Like,
So
do
part
you,
of get so let me back up. So part of getting out of this waiting cycle is to really define what we are waiting for and go deeper with the steps.
yes,
Like if I'm
yes,
waiting for motivation to lose weight, let's go deeper than that, right?
yes. So let's just take this example. I think it's a great
Okay.
one. If
Okay.
you're waiting to lose weight, what is your goal
S-
specifically?
Specifically, the goal would be to eat more whole foods and move my body some more.
So your goal is to have a better diet and more
Hmm.
activity,
Yes.
right?
Right.
So then you take your goal and make sure it's achievable. Is that possible for
Mhm.
you?
Yeah. Hmm.
Okay. And then the next thing is to ensure that your goal is results focused. So how are you going to measure that you've eaten more clean foods and moved your body more?
Well, for me, I like seeing it in an app form. I like seeing the fiber. I like seeing my protein. So that's how I want to measure it
Mm-hmm.
to see if I'm hitting those markers. Activity would be my sheet that I'm coloring in and doing that. That's how I would see both of those things.
Okay. So you have actual physical ways to measure
Yep.
what you're doing.
Yep.
The next is to give yourself a time limit. So at what point do you want to be pretty much in a routine with eating clean and activity?
By September 1st.
Wow, that's really soon.
Yeah. But what's today's date?
August
I've been
14th.
working on it. So it's really just, you know, 14 more days.
Do you think that's manageable for you?
Well, I don't know if it's gonna be a routine, but I would like to keep it up for that long to see if by September 1st I can look and say, what do I need to tweak?"
Okay. All right. And then to act on your goals. So you have those goals and you kind of gave specific examples of eating more whole foods
Mhm.
and do you have more things that you could put on that list? Like your grocery shopping or your
Yeah.
meal planning or meal prepping? Do you have ideas for how that's going to happen?
No, I probably need to do more work on that part.
Yeah, I think that execution is sometimes where we get stuck.
Yeah.
And then there are a couple more is praise yourself when you follow through.
Okay.
And then don't be afraid to up the ante. So if you're eating clean 4 days of the week, can you make it five maybe?
Yep. I like that.
And then give yourself a reward of some sort.
Hmm. Okay.
So
I don't
if we're
know.
talking, sorry, go
I'm
ahead.
bad on reward.
No, it
That's
could be like, I'm gonna take myself out to the movies, or
okay.
I'm going to go buy myself this dress that I've been eyeing, or give myself a facial, or whatever that
Right.
looks like to you.
Right.
Like, I did it. Look at me. Here's the exclamation on the end of the sentence.
Yeah. Okay. What were you gonna say?
No, I just think that we have goals that we want to do better. We want to do better for ourselves, for our health. I know I should eat more vegetables. I know I should eat more fruit. I know I shouldn't eat late at night. I know, like, we've all said this stuff,
Mhm.
but we have to make it actionable. So if we're waiting for something to give us inspiration, then we're just going to be waiting forever.
Waiting forever. Right.
Yeah. So
Like
it has to be actionable for us.
that's a great way of thinking about it. Like what and I think anybody who's listening should really go through and make a list of things you say that you're waiting for. Like I'm waiting for this, whatever the excuses that we're saying is, and really look at that and make that list because it's ridiculous sometimes.
Yes.
It really is. It's like, wait a minute, I'm waiting to lose weight until after my life settles down. Why? Does that when you really sit down and make a list, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It truly is. It's like, wait, why am I waiting till after Labor Day to start eating healthy?
Yeah.
Why am I waiting until January right now to take care of my health when it's I still got 4 good months. Like,
Yep.
we have to stop saying, I'm just gonna wait until this happens, or I'm gonna wait until for the reality is everybody you can keep waiting and waiting and waiting, but you're still going to be married to the same person. You're still going to have the same kids. You're still most likely going to have the same job. That
Yeah.
stuff doesn't change,
Right.
you know?
Yes. And I know somebody close to me who says they cannot make a doctor's appointment because they're waiting for the right time, waiting until after these meetings are done or until after this life event happens, and then they will make the doctor's appointment. But it
Mhm.
takes like 3 months to get a doctor's appointment.
Oh,
So
yes.
are you really waiting for that?
Mhm.
Are you?
I I made a list of things that I'm waiting or that I've heard waiting for. Doctor's appointments is on there. So
Oh,
was
okay.
making a therapy session.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to see a therapist as soon as things get better. What? Does that make any sense? Or I'm going to see a therapist when whatever, right? That's another one.
Wait, but before you move on, I wanted to say the doctor and the therapist thing. I think the reason why, in general, what I believe is why people wait is because they are afraid,
Oh, that's definitely why.
right?
Yep.
Like you don't want to go to the doctor because you don't know what they're going to say.
Mhm.
Or maybe they'll tell you to lose weight or exercise or whatever.
Yes, that's the other part of it. What they're going to tell you is going to make you change something and you don't want to change something.
So you're afraid of that. Or
Yep.
same thing with a therapist is like it's hard to do that work of doing a deep dive into your psyche and why you are
Mhm.
the way you are. It's scary.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay.
Scare
Sorry.
scary is a big thing. Yeah. I don't even
What's
remember now. Oh, a couple other things were the organizing, which I said, things that we wait for is to organize.
hmm
Starting weight loss, exercising, taking a class of some sort. Like
yes.
sometimes that's something we push off a lot too. Remodel your house, repaint your house. Like I can't tell you these steps that are literally right here. The reason they aren't finished is because we are waiting to finish them when we can open the windows
hmm
so that it didn't smell like stain and all of that. Well, guess what? It's already August. They're not done. Guess gonna wait another year because we're not
Yeah.
gonna like it's just like there's always something. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yes.
We have to
I
just
I'm just
figure
so
it out.
curious. Why do you think we make excuses for not doing what we want to do?
Again, I think it basically is all fear or scared based,
Fear,
right?
fatigue, maybe.
Maybe.
Um, like when you come home from work and you're like, I know I should work out, but you're tired and you're hungry and your brain's like wiped and your body's wiped. You don't
Yeah.
have the energy to do it. So it's a lot of inertia in a way. Like I'll
So
do
you
it
think
tomorrow.
maybe I'll add that tired to there. But really, if we think about being tired too much, if we just start moving, we get out of that.
hmm
Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
obviously, there's a difference to that. Like if it's 8 o'clock at night, no, just go to bed. But if you get home at 4 and you just want to sit down and relax, but then you fall asleep for 3 hours, sometimes we have to realize that just moving our body is going to give you that momentum we need.
Yes. Yes.
But you're right. That's one of them.
Well,
But
it's
all right.
definitely taking the first step to getting up off the sofa and going
Yep.
doing what you need to do.
Yep. All right. So here's the things that I wrote down that we need to realize in order to stop this waiting cycle. The first one is there will never be a perfect time because you're never going to be totally ready.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Number two, this one's very interesting. Your objective is to build a raft, not an extravagant boat.
Yes.
And I read this whole cool story about this two men stranded. I think it's fake. Two men stranded on an island, and the one said, "We're going to get off this," and he made this tiny little raft with whatever he found. And the other guy was like, "I am not sailing on that raft. You go ahead. I'm going to make mine." And he made his initial boat, and it took a year. And then he decided he wanted to put seats in it instead of just sitting on the bottom of his raft. So then he took him another whole year to find the materials to make the seat. And by the time the other guy came back around, he had all these different pins and ribbons sailing all over the world, and this guy was still here. Like, and I loved the analogy of like, I only need a raft. I
Mhm.
don't need a yacht today. I just need a raft. Start
Right.
with what we have, right?
Yes. And start small.
Yeah.
That's the
right?
key of your story, is like you're waiting for something to be grand and perfect, and but just
Yep.
start small.
Yep.
You
Yep.
want to start a workout program, maybe just walk, like you've said before, walk to your mailbox.
I think that's another great example is like you want to have these huge muscles that this I'm going to call myself out. I want to have these nice arm muscles.
Me
Start
too.
with my 3 pounds and stop being a baby about it. Right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Anyway, that was number 2. Number 3 is your growth zone will always begin at the edge of your comfort zone.
Yes, I believe that. I think not to a place of being tortured, but when you start getting uncomfortable, I think is when change starts happening.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you're working out, you're like, gosh, this is really hard. And you get over that hump, you're like, man, I did that.
Yep.
I did that. Or
I think
or
I need to use the word, and this, sorry, but I think whenever I say this sucks, I need to realize that that's out of my comfort zone.
mhm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
All right, you ready for number 4?
Yes.
You ready for number 4? It will never be easy, but it will be worth it.
Yes. That's a thinker,
Right?
but it will never be easy, but it will be worth it.
And then maybe we don't say never be easy,
Oh, yeah, true.
but
True, true.
somewhere along those lines. Like maybe it really just won't ever always be super, super easy.
Mhm.
Okay, number 5. The riskiest thing you can do in life is to never take a risk.
Mm. That's a hard one though, because if your personality or your life has taught you just calm down, just don't do that. To create new pathways in your brain to say it's okay if you walk over there. Or we were taking a hike on this, it's called Outer Rim. So it's elevated trail. And one lady went and stood not real close to the edge, but she was kind of like she wanted someone to take her picture there. And then 3 or 4 of the people in the group were like, move away from there. Don't go there. It's too risky. I don't know if you can change that inherent part of you that's the risk adverse.
Interesting. Maybe, but maybe you take different forms of risk.
What do you mean?
Like maybe like I'm not a risk taker to go on a roller coaster, but maybe for me a risk would be something like maybe they're just a different level of risks.
Hmm. Yeah, that's fair. We go back to starting small.
Like for example, some people would be like I don't mind taking a new exercise class. That's like nothing for me. So that's
Hmm.
not a risk to them, but to me
Right.
that could be a risk.
True. Very true.
So maybe it's just all like personal. Like what is considered a risk to you?
To me,
Yeah.
um, I do better when I'm alone. So I think an exercise class for me would be a little intimidating, especially if I'm standing in someone's spot or I use someone's equipment by mistake, or I've
Mm,
gotten yelled at in class, like, that's my mat. I'm
I
like, oh, I'm
know.
so sorry. I didn't know.
People are
So,
rude, aren't they?
well,
Jeez.
that makes me just happy to work out alone.
Yeah. So, but I think you're right on with that one, but I think maybe it's something that we all just need to figure out like what a risk is personally,
Right.
right? Like not everybody's going to quit their job and start something new. That's too risky, but for somebody else it might be I'm going to open my own Etsy shop or do a craft
Oh,
show and sell something at a craft like maybe your level of risk isn't so dramatic, but maybe it can be a little bit smaller.
and I also think while you were talking, I was realizing that I'm risk adverse in some scenarios, and in others, I don't think. I just
Yep.
do.
Yeah. I think we're all maybe a little bit like that.
Yeah, because sometimes it's easier to take that risk and you're like, what's the big deal? And
Right.
other times you're like terrified.
Yep.
So you're like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not going there.
Yep. Okay, the last one I have is and I like this thought is happen gradually and then all at once.
It happens gradually, then all at once. What
Now,
do you
and I
mean?
like this is what I like about this quote is because I think what happens is good things start happening gradually and then your mind shifts. It's going back to so for our call to action sessions you gave us all homework, I guess you could say, to find a heart in nature, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And once you found one, you were like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I never saw some of these before. And I
Mm-hmm.
feel like that good things happen gradually and then all at once is a perfect example of that.
Yeah, that example, that homework assignment was inspired by a podcast with Dr. Mark Hyman and Mel Robbins. And the point of that is to lead your mind in a direction. So if you're looking for a heart in nature or a white car on the road or whatever it is, you can retrain your brain to move in a certain direction. You can retrain your brain to believe that you can do good things, or
Hmm.
you can retrain your brain to think I'm going to be a failure for the rest of my life.
Yep.
So whatever you put in front of you is the direction you're going to walk.
Hmm. And that's what I think that quote means is like, as long as I'm seeing good things everywhere and good things happening, you're just going to be like, oh my gosh, this is great. This is happening and this is happening. And I think that's where we all need to be when it comes to this waiting spot.
Yeah,
Is like, stop waiting for it. Let's find the good and make the good happen because then more good's going to come.
right.
Does
And
that make
I,
sense?
yes, we have to retrain our brain to believe that we can do it. We
Hmm.
are able to do something different, to move forward, to be successful, even if it's, oh, I walked to the mailbox. Maybe that's a success. Or, I went out and bought a coffee at Starbucks. Maybe that's a success. Maybe
Yep.
I meal plan today. Maybe that's your success. If
Hmm.
you're waiting for some sign from the heavens,
Hmm.
I think we're just going to keep waiting and waiting. And then
Yep.
our whole life goes by while we're waiting.
Yes. So waiting is just that place that we just need to kind of realize a whole bunch of different things about it, I
Yes.
think.
There was one thing on my list that I think it's important to mention is it's a pay attention to the myths you tell yourself. And I think that's tied to this concept we're just talking about.
What do you mean?
It if you tell yourself, I'm not a good exerciser, I can't lift
Oh,
weights, that's what it will be true. Because it's a myth you tell yourself that has become reality.
I like this. Pay attention to the myths you tell
Yeah.
yourself.
Yes.
Very interesting. I'm writing it down, so I'm sorry I'm not talking right now because I need to
No.
think about the myths I tell myself.
So tell me about your call to action this week.
So
Your
my call to action this week is I've been working on this trifecta, this 777 thing. And I made this fun little graphic up in this little chart. And each seven on my chart is broken into 10 segments and I color them in if I hit my three activities,
wow.
activity goals, whatever you want to call it. And really what they are is a walk of some sort, any sort, meaning around my whole block or on my little stepper thing that I have, just any walk. I don't have it set as like a mile or a half a mile or a minute, whatever, just a walk. Um, 5-minute arm exercises of any sort, with weights, without weights, maybe just working on push-ups or something, whatever. And
Hmm.
then 10 minutes of stretching my body.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
So really it's 15 minutes or more of exercise. And I really think it's helping improve my mindset on activity.
How do you think it's helping you?
One, because I don't feel like I'm putting this pressure on, I have to do a 30-minute or an hour of exercise in
Mm,
order for it to count. I have broke it out into 5 minutes of exercise with my arms. And by the way, sometimes I do 7 minutes because I'm like, oh, I can't find a 5-minute one that I want to do, so I'll do 7. So I'm getting that part there. And it's working on strength, which I know as we get older, we really need to work on strength
absolutely.
exercises anyway. But I am not the kind of person that's going to jump in and do a 30-minute strength exercise and expect that to be a routine. I could do it for like a week and then I'll give up. But if
Sure.
I can start enjoying it and liking it enough to do 5 minutes a day, I think that's a great foundation to build on. My second one of the stretching is I actually like the way I feel when I stretch.
Hmm.
It's kind of meditation, but I don't
Yes.
like calling it meditation because I feel like I'm all like hippity dippity with meditation. So I don't call
Yeah.
it that. Sorry, I hope that doesn't offend anybody, but that's just my thing. And then the walking is something that I feel like I need to do anyway.
The thing I like about what you're saying is you've been struggling with this activity piece. You've been trying to
Hmm.
change your mindset around it. And you're waiting for inspiration, but you said, let me just make small little goals for myself that are
Hmm.
very measurable, that are very doable for me, and really, really specific so
Hmm.
that you can move forward with this. And maybe you're still waiting for inspiration to run that marathon, but right now, this is what you're doing.
Yes. And I am waiting for motivation to like actually want to do an hour straight of any type of exercise. I'm just not there.
Yeah, that's fine though.
Right.
You're starting small.
Yeah. Yep. So anyway, so I want to continue that. I'm really doing good with it. And I'm hoping that for 7 days I can keep it going.
I like it a lot.
Yeah. So what about you?
Mine's a two-parter, but they're totally
Okay.
different things. Okay. So, and before we started, I decided I was away for 4 or 5 days. So I was going to try to get back on track and not wait for, oh, I'll do it tomorrow.
Mhm.
I was going to just get back on track in terms of eating a salad and drinking my water. And the water was fine anyway, but um, going back to no gluten because I felt better not eating it. So just getting back on track. But then when we were talking, I have like a a one-off goal, I guess, a one-time thing that I've been waiting for the right time for this thing to happen. It's such a small, ridiculous thing. I want to rotate this desk.
In your
So
bedroom? Where you
yes,
are right now, I mean,
yes,
in
yes.
your office?
I want to rotate the desk so the light hits my face rather than my back. But I
Okay.
also want to put up the sign that we got.
Yes.
I want to put it up on the wall. So all of these things can't happen until I rotate this desk. So I'm waiting for my husband to help me. So maybe I'll just do it slowly by myself.
Oh my God, that is another perfect example of things we wait for. I'm gonna wait for my husband to help me. I'm gonna wait for my kids to come over and help me do this. I'm gonna wait for, oh, yes.
Yeah, I don't want to. I mean, he's busy. It's not his
Yeah.
fault. If I asked him, he would help me.
Yeah.
But I just need to start. I can move it slowly by myself, you know?
Yeah. You could do it. You could move your desk by yourself. Is it that heavy?
It's a little heavy, but I'll empty everything
Yeah.
and then it'll make me reorganize it, which I'm waiting to do anyway.
Yeah.
So all good things.
It's a great, good. That was a great reminder to everybody on how we have all of these waiting things, you know?
Yeah.
I really kind of hope my husband listens to this one because he's constantly like, I'm just gonna wait for school to start, or I'm just gonna wait to figure out if I need all that stuff and then throw it away.
Yeah.
Like, it's a good one.
It's
So,
just
all
fun.
right. I think
Well,
we got
thanks.
our work cut out for us this week.
I'm excited about this.
So, all right, we'll see you next week.
See ya. Bye.
Bye.